Alright, in the last video I showed you a few tricks to help you with your interior scene. This one's going to be pretty much the same, concentrating on how to put multiple materials onto multiple objects. Here's my scene with no materials on it. Here's my scene with materials on it. It's quite a difference. And here is a side view showing that all of my stained glass windows are unique. Here's my Max setup, and let me put the roof back on right here so you can see it. Right off the bat, we have a good example of a camera versus a perspective view. So let me see if I can't make that. We'll go C for camera. Okay, so camera view right there, you can see, is much more dramatic than the perspective view. And so cameras just have a lot more features. They give you a lot of options. We haven't even explored the other types of cameras yet. So please, as you're working, use cameras. So as we work on the scene, I think I'm going to go ahead and make that roof disappear again. And let's go into this viewport here. And so these columns and the stained glass windows, that's what we're going to be concentrating on most, because the building itself is really not that complex. If we were to look at the material editor for that, we'd see that the building has sort of your standard multi-sub object material, and here, let's say, it would be, I believe that this is the floor, and it is tiled a bit. And the columns are not tiled, but they've got a UVW map on them, so I handle the tiling and whatnot with those. Here, I believe, is the walls. It's a good idea to start labeling things, right? And here is the ceiling. Anyways, and so you can see all of those things were tiled, but they don't have UVW maps on them. There's really nothing that special about them. All right. The columns and the stained glass windows, on the other hand, they do. So both the columns and the stained glass windows carrying those UVW maps with them, the easiest thing to do would be to just make new ones at this point. So, maybe as you're starting an original project, you wouldn't go through the extra step of making copies and then deleting those copies and making new copies. I'm just doing that with you guys right now to sort of show you things, one step at a time. That being said, let's go ahead, and I think we're going to get rid of all these columns right here, and we're just going to say delete. Okay, easy come, easy go. I kept this column here just so we could have good spacing. All right, so I've got this column here, and you can see it's got a UVW map on it. And this UVW map, how they come with the planar, and we've used the box before. Well, this one has a cylinder. It just made more sense, since this is cylindrical after all. And by the way, as I move around in this viewport, note that I am in orthographic. I know I've talked to you guys a bunch of times about the difference between orthographic and perspective. And it's really nice because right now being in orthographic means that when I go to my view cube and I just say, okay, I want to go to the top, it is going to be truly top view. So with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shift copy this right on over and get it right into here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And this time, I'm going to go ahead and just make those copies. And there's a reason why. You'll see in just a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to have that as a copy. And I'm going to make 7 of them at this time. So I can just type in 7 right here. And say, OK. And that will give me a whole slew of these guys. All right, and they're all placed just the way that I wanted them to be because I used that one as a reference. Let me go ahead and that first one, I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. All right, so now everything's the same. And the thing about this is that we notice that each one of these has this certain spot pattern that showed up. Each one, same place, same place. Now that looks pretty bad. So that's the reason why I made it into a copy instead of a version. All right. So I've got this one, I've got the gizmo. Let's click on another one. And so this being its own unique version, when I go here and I go to the gizmo and I say, okay, rotate, I could rotate that gizmo without affecting the others. And that way, I still have the spots, but it's not lining up with that. So you're not going to just casually notice. Okay, so let's say if I wanted to go to another one, and this one, maybe what I'll do is I'll change the tiling a little bit on it, right? And or change the gizmo a little bit on that, just to mess it up a little bit, just to change it a little bit so that they're all not the same. Okay, and so once I've got those columns all done there, then of course all I would need to do is to select them all. Nice that they're all grouped. And with my angle snaps on, I'm going to just go Shift. And here, keep those all just as copies this time. And here, and we'll go to our top. And move them up. Good enough. And, I could just quickly mess with all these guys just a little bit in order to make them all slightly unique. Okay, well that was easy. Okay, now let's do the pictures. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select